What's good? Unconventionally Miles podcast. Another episode, part 2 of Food for Thought. I got some great feedback for Food for Thought part 1. So we're going to make this series. We're going to make this a series. I want to touch on some topics that can add to last week's Food for Thought content, right? So last week Food for Thought, it was good. It was real good. It was real good from what people tell me. So I just want to add on to that. Once again, your host, Unconventionally Miles. Every Sunday for a couple weekends, we're going to have a new episode. This is going to be episode 2, Food for Thought. But the term we're going to focus on today is accountability. And does your word still matter when you give someone your word? For me, giving my word is extremely important. Giving my verbal word is a contract to me. This is how I was brought up, right? Giving your word is still important. There's no reneging on your word when you give your word to someone. Whether you saying you're going to be there, you're going to provide, you're going to show up, you're going to be a support system, you're going to be a motivator, you're going to be a provider. Also, once you give your word, you got to hold yourself accountable for giving your word, right? It's a lot of times individuals are not accountable for their actions. And then when things take place, good or bad, usually bad, they don't want to take ownership for what role they played in the outcome that you hurt somebody or you ruined a relationship or you ruined a situation because you felt something was going on in your head, so you decided to self-sabotage a situation. At some point, we're all guilty of that. I totally think we're all guilty of self-sabotage at some point. And if you're not guilty for that, I applaud you, right? But anything we do, we need to be accountable for our actions. We can't point the finger. We can't complain. We got to own up to whatever we do. Food for thought. A contract is not always a written agreement. When you have friends and you have a partner and you give them your word on what you're going to do, regardless of the relationship, you got to stand on that. Now, some contracts are made to be broken with active communication. Some contracts are made to be altered if the word you gave and the word that person gave, your relationship don't align, whereas you can still provide whatever services or need you was doing. For example, if I'm in a relationship with a young lady and I told her I would provide for her while we're in a relationship, if we're no longer in a relationship, I'm not going to provide the same way, and I'm going to respect her new relationship and vice versa, ladies. Sometimes I know young ladies that were in a relationship, had several kids by a man or vice versa, and when they no longer in a relationship, they feel they can still contact the man to provide for themselves. Provide for her, or vice versa. A man will contact a woman and be like, hey, that's my baby mother. She's always going to be there for me. Have some respect and decency for yourself. Once that relationship is over, you got to be accountable for what took place and you got to move forward. Now, that's not saying don't take care of your kids. That's definitely not saying that. That's just saying you can't rely on that person as a crutch if that's not your relationships moving forward. In return, if you're in a relationship with somebody new and the new person you're in a relationship with is not able to provide like your previous relationship, it's unfair to date someone new but still get the benefits from the previous relationship. Now, that's my personal opinion, right? Also, in other areas, right? If you have a group of friends or family members, hold them accountable. If they're doing or acting or moving in a certain kind of way that doesn't align with who you are and you don't agree with it, hold them accountable. Because when you agree to being a friend, whether you said it verbally, right? You agree to hold them accountable. You agree to make an individual stand on their word. and you agree to helping them be the best person they can. Not all the times that works. We all have friends that we had to leave behind. If it doesn't align, it's not for mine. You feel me? So it's like at the end of the day, you got to pay attention to who your circle is and who you're around. Also, be self-aware. I think that's one of the key things individuals need to focus on, being self-aware. Understanding your surroundings, understanding if you're toxic, understanding what kind of behavior and energy you're bringing to any situation. Food for thought. No matter what anyone else is doing, you should be able to stand on what you said you was going to stand on. What I try to pride myself on is having communication and always being there for my friends and my loved ones with time. Time is something we can never get back, like I discussed in a previous episode. And time is more valuable than money, right? Time is way more valuable than money. If you take the time to give somebody the jewels to be better, it's going to stay with them forever. If you give somebody money, they're going to keep needing you if they're not able to take that blessing and create something that will be residual, will be a residual benefit, right? Accountability, people. Food for thought. Accountability. Anything that you do, it has actions, reactions, pros and cons. Once you make a decision, whatever the outcome of that decision is, you have to stand on everything that come with it. You have to be accountable for what you contributed in that situation. Sometimes you can't be accountable for other individuals' actions, but you can always be accountable for yours. And allowing yourself to be self-aware to see if you triggered something for someone to react the other way. Also, you have to make yourself happy before anyone else can. A lot of times we look for happiness in situations or other people. If you allow somebody else to control your behavior, you're in a bad situation that's never going to help you. It's just not. Right? Also, keep in mind, this is a food for thought gem. I want you to ask yourself, when you give someone your word, are you easily able to break the verbal contract that you gave them because they're not acting the way you would like them to act? Also, when you give someone your word, does it come with requirements? Like, I'm going to do this only if you do that for me. And if that's you and that's your behavior, do you think that's a good trait to have when you have relationships with other individuals? I have not always been accountable for my actions, but as an adult, I have majority of the time, I have been accountable for my actions. And a lot of times those actions did not result in what I wanted to do. And sometimes I burned myself for keeping my word. So now that's the flip side. When you give your word, you have to know when you need to break that verbal contract because it's not conducive to your lifestyle. And it's a slippery slope. I don't break my word because I'm not getting the best result for me. I will break my word because me continuously doing what I gave my word on is hurting me. I'm not in the business of hurting myself. And I'm not even saying emotionally. I mean overall. If I like someone and someone doesn't like me, but I say, hey, I will always be there if you need me, I'm not going to stop talking to you because you don't like me the same way I like you. But if you're trying to use me and get over on me because you know I like you, that's when I have to take my word back. That's when I got to be accountable for my actions and remove myself from the relationship we have. You know? Also, by the way, make sure you check myself and my business partner, Freddie P at Master Barber. We have a video podcast on Instagram and YouTube. It's called 2 Brains, 1 Goal. We're talking about some great topics that we can all utilize. It's different from this one. This is more of a motivational, mental health, food for thought, thought-provoking podcast. On that realm, You physically get to, and verbally get to, and visually get to see who I am, how I talk, and what I do. And you get to chime in, and we're going to have guests, live guests and video guests that you can just see some of the topics we're referring to and give your opinion and give your experiences. I'm not a professional lifestyle coach. What I give you is what I go through and what the individuals around me go through, and I'm able to articulate that through the podcast, which is Unconventionally Mouse. Also, I'm a loan officer. I'm a licensed loan officer. I cover Arizona, Texas, DC, Maryland, Virginia, and Vegas now. I might add California. So feel free to check my TikTok at Mr. Frequent Flyer Mouse. Feel free to check my Instagram, Mr. Frequent Flyer Mouse, right? You can find me there. Any mortgage questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm well versed, and I'm growing, and I'm trying to get better. But back to the topic, food for thought. Is a contract always written, signed, and sealed? Or do you have a contract amongst those that you love, care about, friends, family, relationship, girlfriend or boyfriend? And when you give that word, how sacred is that word you gave? How often do you hold yourself accountable to that word you provided? Something to think about. That's something I want you guys to chime in for and give me some feedback and give me, how do you navigate the world of being accountable and giving your word in situations that matter. Sometimes they don't matter to you, but they matter to someone else, right? Extremely important. By the way, I hope everybody's Sunday's going well. I'm literally going to upload, edit, and post the episodes in real time. I'm not going to hold on to episodes no more. The goal is to continuously produce the content and get it out to you. Okay? So another topic. This is extremely, extremely important. When do you know you need to detach yourself from friends, family, or loved ones based upon these individuals not being accountable for their actions? Do you always allow your friends or family to get over because you care about them so much, or do you hold them accountable? And in return, if their behavior does not align with the person you are, is it difficult to move on from them and let them go? Life isn't easy. I say it all the time. It's tough decisions we got to make. And sometimes you make the tough decision and you don't get the result. And sometimes you make the tough decision and it doesn't feel good. But down the line, you see that it was well worth it. So those are some questions I want to ask there. Also, do you feel you're the most important person in your life? And if no, why not? Why don't you feel you're the most important person in your life? And if you do feel you're the most important person in your life, why do you feel that way? And have you always felt that way? And how did you get to this place to make sure you're taking care of yourself, because no one else would take care of you like you? Vital, people. Food for thought every Sunday. Important things we have to ask ourselves to be better individuals and make sure individuals is treating us to the utmost respect and they have our best interests in hand when they're dealing with us. Some of the questions I usually ask those that I'm currently around is, what makes you happy? And the things that make you happy, why? Why do these things make you happy? If you can, another question, if you can choose anybody to drive across the United States with, who would it be and why? And is that person somebody you can rely on at all times? And what traits does that person have that make them reliable? What are those traits? Also, what is it that you want in your life that you want to work on and that you're aware of, but it's tough, but you're still pushing forward to get better? Had a great conversation with my business partner, Freddie, yesterday. Some of the great questions that we touched about was, how is this generation different than the generation we grew up within? Is social media the new Hollywood? Why? If you feel that way. Great topics, great topics, great topics. Some of the few last things I want to touch on is this. If you love yourself the way you want someone to love you, are you willing to let that person continuously hurt you because you're in love with them? Also, if you was to describe love, whether friendship, family member, wife or husband, how would you describe that? Does your love come with requirements and rules and regulations, or no? And is your love based upon the accountability that you provide to someone else and someone provides to you? Is your love based upon your word? Is your love based upon the contract or the marriage certificate? What makes you love the way you do? And are you still loyal to individuals that are not loyal to you? Do you have a friend? Because I do. Do you have a friend that when they want to do some nonsense, they know not to call you because they know you're going to talk them off the ledge? So they go and do whatever they're doing, knowing it's wrong, with some other friends that's not going to call them out on it, right? And then you hear about it later. And when you hear about it later, you ask that person, why did you do what you did? And they say, I don't know. If you're a grown-up, can you make a decision without knowing why you made the decision and be okay with it? And if so, how does that make you feel? You making decisions not knowing why you made it? And the result that you get is normally good for the moment, but horrible in the long run? Is that something you feel comfortable with? Something to think about, something that I want you to chime in with, something that I want you to register in your mental capacity, your brain box. Be thankful for what you have. Cherish your life. Try to be a better person for standing up for what you believe in and standing 10 toes down. If you give your word, stand on your word. As best as your ability. Be accountable for your actions. If you're accountable and consistently and you give your word, you'll be surprised the blessings that come with that and the people that want to be around you because they know you're solid. A lot of times when we give our word, individuals really cherish that. And sometimes without us knowing, the word that we give somebody can make or break a situation in their life. It's not right, but sometimes that's what happens. Right? We see it with money all the time. I was taught a valuable lesson. Never loan out money that you expect to get back. Because if you expect to get that money back, you would never get it as fast as you gave it out. I had to learn a lesson. Also, when I give my time to someone, I make sure I can give it to them. I don't give somebody my time and expect the same amount of time back because usually you won't get it. How you move as a person, it's hard to hold somebody to that same standard, which sucks, but that's life. Your perception is your reality, and the way you perceive things, a lot of people won't perceive them the same way. And if you find somebody that have some similarities in their perspective, usually those are the people we're around on a day-to-day basis, but having a group of people that feel the same way is extremely rare, so cherish that if you have it. No matter what I do, I'm going to hold my word to the best of my ability, and if I can, I'm going to communicate it with those individuals that I gave my word to. Accountability. If I make a decision or I have certain actions, I'm going to know why I did it, and I'm going to stand on it. As an adult, I don't make no decisions without thinking. And the more you practice awareness and thinking and making yourself more informed of the decisions you make, the people around you, and the actions that could take place, you could start making decisions a lot faster on a whim and know why you made it, because you're conditioned to making sound decisions. So I just wanted to touch on this food for thought Sunday, this soul food Sunday, right? And just give you guys a little different podcast and ask you some questions in your lifestyle more consistently to see if any of these things align, or if you can learn from anything from these questions, and was this an opportunity to grow. Once again, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Mr. Frequent Flyer Miles. If you have any loan questions, I'm a licensed loan officer. Make sure you follow me at I'm gonna wait for you guys to write this down. I'm still waiting. Get a pen if you need to get a pen. Follow me on One Touch Mortgage. One Touch Mortgage on Instagram. Also on Instagram, follow me and my business partner on our visual podcast, which is totally separate and different from this one. It's called Two Brains, One Goal. Lastly, if you can learn anything, learn from somebody's mistakes. A lot of times the people around us who make mistakes, they teach us not what to do. It's just up to us to pay attention to utilize that to not make it. Paying attention is free. It doesn't cost nothing. Just got to use your brain. Unconventionally Miles podcast. Food for Thought Sunday, episode 2. Do you hold yourself to accountability? And do you hold your word when you give it? Unconventionally Miles, I'm out. Peace.